This is not Jimmy Stewart's or Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.'s FBI. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. The last 3 days have seen some extraordinary and disgusting events in the story of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Even now, 50 years after the death of J. Edgar Hoover, most Americans grew up thinking of the FBI as the American Scotland Yard or Sûreté Nationale in France. But in fact, it has become, or always was, equivalent to the second and third chief directorate of the Committee for State Security. That's Komitet Gosudarbstvenoi Bezopasnosti, abbreviated KGB, in the days of the Soviet Union. But that does not mean that the FBI has always been loyal to something called the government of the United States. Rather, it has been loyal to the Democratic Party, or perhaps to one man, Barack H. Obama. And in the last 3 days, it has proved that beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. Before we dive deeper into it, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom of that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which reads, "Freedom isn't free." And that is the truth. Remember that the price of freedom is eternal what? Yes, eternal vigilance. Thursday, August 25th, brought the first set of revelations. Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan asked him how he handled the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Zuckerberg could have settled for distinguishing Facebook's admittedly nuanced approach with the brute force, you shall say nothing approach of Twitter. Twitter even suspended the account of the New York Post. Instead, Zuckerberg said the quiet part out loud. Headline USA quotes him. "I mean, basically, the background here is that the FBI, I think, basically came to us, to some folks on our team, and said, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump that's going to be similar to that." I have a link in the description to that interview. Now, if the FBI came to Facebook, then they certainly came to Twitter, and Google, YouTube, Pinterest, Spotify, many more. They probably came to Gab, too, but Gab would tell them what they could do with their high alerts in unprintable and unrepeatable language if Andrew Torba, its head, was not a Christian. Notice also that the FBI was repeating the Russia, Russia, Russia canard, which they, under Special Agent or Inspector Peter Strzok, pronounced Struck, started. In fact, the laptop story began when a computer repairman to whom Hunter had brought the laptop handed it over to the FBI. We now know that the FBI warned its agents not to touch the laptop. I have a link in the description to a tweet reminding us of that fact, which we know from witnesses who have come to Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, as well as Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio. Now, the next day, the FBI denied that they can, quote, ask or direct companies to take action on information received, close quote. Likewise, Facebook themselves denied that Zuckerberg said anything new. I have links in the description to a tweet and a Facebook video that they offer to corroborate this. But both these denials ring hollow, particularly since Facebook, under Zuckerberg's leadership and with his direct financing, effectively told supervisors and clerks of elections what to do before the election of 2020. Something else came to light yesterday, August the 26th. The supporting affidavit for the search warrant in the infamous Trump raid. The site Just the News has that affidavit ready to serve, and I have a link to it in the description. And a fine document this is. 38 pages, half of them fully or nearly blanked out. It looks very much like the letter Count Leon Dalgut sends to Nina Ninochka Yakushova while she is still in the Soviet Union, after the mail censors get through with it, in the famous 1939 movie with Greta Garbo and Melvin Douglas. You know Garbo's line. And even that one they wouldn't let me read. It begins, "Dear Ninochka," and ends, "Yours, Leon." To paraphrase Herman Melville, Herman Wauch, that affidavit tells us nothing we didn't know before and explains nothing we wanted explained, except we now know that the FBI relied on news media reports in their supporting affidavit. From paragraph 30 on page 11, I quote, "According to a CBS Miami article titled 'Moving Trucks Spotted at Mar-a-Lago,' published Monday, January 18, 2021, at least 2 moving trucks were observed at the premises on January 18, 2021. Unquote the affidavit. The FBI has blanked out the rest of paragraph 30 and many paragraphs after that. From paragraph 53, again, I quote, "I am aware of an article published in Breitbart on May 5th, 2022, available at," and here he gives the link, "which states that Kash Patel, who is described as a former top POTUS administration official, characterized as misleading reports in other news organizations that NARA," that's the National Archives, "had followed classified materials among records that POTUS provided to NARA from Mar-a-Lago. Patel alleged that such reports were misleading because POTUS had declassified the materials at issue." Paragraph 53 says at least one other sentence, but again, the FBI has blanked it out, together with the next 7 paragraphs. The problem is, the FBI did this once before, in obtaining a FISA warrant under false pretenses against Mr. Carter Page. John Solomon, the head of Just the News, interviewed Kevin Brock, formerly the Assistant Director for Intelligence at the FBI. But before we talk about that, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, our Silver Lines can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. As I was saying, Kevin Brock gave an interview to John Solomon, and he minced no words. I quote, "I will caveat all of this by saying we can only see what we can see. But the first thing that jumped out to me is that the probable cause statement focuses on the nature of the documents and where they are, but it doesn't, at least in the unredacted portion, address the main element of the criminal federal statutes that they cite. The FBI should not have participated in the investigation. It is something that needs to be settled during established routes in that regard that are traditionally used. There was no need for law enforcement involvement in this, and there was certainly no need for an invasive search of the residence. I think they're going to regret this. Unquote Kevin Brock. Furthermore, and again I quote, from what I can see, that's not established in the probable cause. And there's an allusion to the argument from the Trump advocates that the former president has was within his authority to declassify and to establish what a presidential record is, unquote. Now, Mr. Brock is talking about Exhibit 1, a letter from Trump's lawyers saying Trump could absolutely declassify anything. Indeed, the affidavit, what we can read of it, never refers to classified information, refers to classified markings. Now remember, Trump had left a standing order that he could declassify anything by virtue of removing it either to the White House residential quarters or to Mar-a-Lago before Biden's inauguration. We still don't know why the FBI acted as it did, or at least the FBI refuses to tell us. So we can, and indeed we must, per the Declaration of Independence, infer worst case. And worst case is that the FBI sought and got a writ of assistance against Trump. Remember what a writ of assistance is. A general warrant to search anywhere and everywhere for anything and everything. Trump has sued the government over that raid. Earlier, he filed a motion before Judge Eileen Cannon to have a special master examine everything the FBI took from Mar-a-Lago to determine whether the FBI violated attorney-client privilege. This morning, Judge Cannon scheduled a formal hearing for Thursday, September 1st. But in her order, to which I also have a link in the description, she also signaled her preliminary intent to grant the motion for a special master. Now, for those of you scratching your heads and saying, special what? A special master is an officer of the court who acts on the court's behalf and in the court's place. In essence, a special master is a vice judge. The appointment of a special master would mean that no prosecutor could look at the seized documents without an objective observer present. Now, all right. I want you all to join me in a thought experiment. Imagine, say, James Stewart as Agent Chip Hardesty, FBI, in the FBI Story, meaning the 1959 movie. Or imagine Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. as Inspector Louis Erskine, FBI, in the Quinn Martin TV show, The FBI. Now, imagine either man having any part of the Trump raid or its planning. Imagine either man swearing before a judge that he needs to search the private residence of a former president of the United States on the basis of all things, news reports. Now imagine either man leading a team to enter said residence and peremptorily order the subject's attorneys to leave. Then imagine whether either man could calmly go about a professional search while members of his team rifled the private closets and dressers of the lady of the house. If you have any conscience or any sense of decency at all, you cannot imagine a thing like that. And I cannot imagine Mervyn LeRoy or Quinn Martin ever accepting a script depicting FBI agents behaving this way. Certainly J. Edgar Hoover, who commissioned both projects, would have flatly disallowed any such movie or episode. Even though he was running COINTELPRO at the time, Director Hoover would never have been as brazen as Christopher Wray has been in attacking a sitting and then a former president of the United States to the partisan gain of the opposite political party. And no, J. Edgar Hoover would not have done such a thing. Not out of the kindness of his heart, but in the belief that neither party was better than the other. Remember, all official Washington was corrupt in Hoover's day. Hoover saw presidents come and go, and he wanted them all to leave his agency alone. But since his death, 2 presidents have realized everyone's worst fears. Bad enough, while Hoover lived, that he behaved so imperiously that Life magazine famously designed a cover featuring a marble-like Roman-style portrait bust of Hoover wearing the golden oak leaf chaplet called Corona Civica, and captioned that cover, Emperor of the FBI. What's worse is that the present FBI has let 2 presidents turn it into an anti-dissident police. First was Barack Obama. Now it is Joe Biden. Obama's 3rd term, indeed. This same FBI has actually investigated parents as domestic terrorism suspects for daring question their school boards over school curriculum. What they will say to 13 school boards that flipped in Florida on August the 23rd, we can only guess. 2 presidents created a monster. At present, only 1 president and possibly another potential president can destroy that monster. Destroy it, someone must. Though if Representative Jordan is correct, a change of leadership might suffice. But that would require sacking not only the director, but also many assistant directors and senior agents. Barack Obama must have salted that agency more thoroughly than Robert Iger salted the Walt Disney Company. Desalting it will require a Trump, because Trump has his own security force, which Ron DeSantis does not have. But we cannot expect the monster to go down quietly. Prepare for the next FBI story, and for your part in it. Link in the description to the article, to the tweet containing the Rogan and Zuck interview, to the other tweet repeating that the FBI ordered the agents not to touch the laptop, Facebook's denials, to the half-blacked-out affidavit to Judge Cannon's order scheduling the next hearing, and to conservative news and views. I've also left links to the awesome online store and to oursilverlives.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and click the bell icon to get notices as soon as I put out another video. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and links to earlier videos about what the FBI has now become. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.